Welcome to The Call to Rise, the podcast for sacred rebels, visionaries, and conscious changemakers. Here we sit down with the people birthing the new earth, weaving ancient wisdom with modern strategy to build movements that heal, transform, and uplift our world. I'm Mackenzie Darling, your host, inviting you into honest conversations, practical tools, and hard-won wisdom to awaken your power and to inspire you to answer the call to rise and to meet this moment in history.
Here we are.
All right. Today we have Jim Glaser, aka Costume Jim, is the notorious founder of Costume Kult and Costume Network. He is a community leader in the participatory cultural arts movement with notable accomplishments in decentralized community building, viral marketing, online, offline crossover, crowdsourcing, volunteer mobilizations, and large-scale immersive events. Welcome, Costume Jim. Let's have some fun today.
Wow. Well, yeah, all about fun. Have been for a little bit of time here, and happy to join you and talk about how we can spread the fun with a lot more people.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I love that you are building a movement around fun. And I'd love to start. What first inspired you to create Costume Cult, and when did it really shift from a fun gathering into a true movement?
So I've always loved the New York Halloween parade. So going back to right when I got out of college, when my friend said, just do what I say. You're going to wear a costume. You're going to go to this thing. You're going to love it. Just shut up and do it. Back then, I just had this rubber Satan mask, which was a pretty cool one. It like form fitted to my face, and a motorcycle jacket. And then I got there, and my friend had a sort of broken pinata head, Mickey Mouse head on motorcycle jacket. We didn't coordinate it, but we were Mickey and Satan walking up 6th Avenue where the New York Halloween parade is. As a shy kid just out of college, all of a sudden, every lingerie wearing woman was climbing on me, taking pictures. And I'm like, to my friend, I'm like, dude, we are coming back to this parade every year.
Of course, that's how it started. That's amazing.
And it's not just, the ability to meet people, but it really is. It's like you're wearing something, you have basically a prop that you can talk about with whoever you're meeting. And it's pretty cool. It's fun. It is fun. And then it breaks down barriers, and it's art. You're wearing it. And, I'm an artist in a lot of ways. And, when you hang art on a wall, and unless you're at the opening sitting next to the art, it's very disattached from you personally. So wearing art, being art is just, it really, so many people that we know just loves the hell out of, they love Halloween. They love, Mardi Gras. There's just so many things that go on around the world where people look forward to it every year. So, so I've been, I've loved costumes since I was a kid for that reason. But then here we were all of a sudden wearing costumes as an adult, sort of a first time thing. And then it was like, wow, there's something to this, not just, for the fun, but societally, I've always been an activist. And from a business standpoint, a whole sector of products, services. So there's just a huge idea here. And I've been spending this last bunch of years, let's call it 20 years, figuring out that whole situation, first with Costume Cult and now with this much larger project, Costume Network.
Amazing. Well, I'd love for you to walk us through the bite-sized, step-by-step, how you started from that New York City Halloween parade into turning this into a global movement. How did you take the idea from inception into actually creating this?
So it's amazing because, we started small. Me and that friend of mine was like, you got to come back to this every year. And then
I love the accent, by the way. It really adds to it.
Yeah, he's a Colombian New Yorker with a thick. Anyway, I love that guy. And then next year we were 15 people doing Monty Python and the Holy Grail with the coconuts and cloppity clop, and And then, cheers are erupting from the side. We're just a group theme. And kept coming back every year. I moved to Chicago. And when I moved to Chicago, still came back to New York for once a year. And then somewhere along the way, we were like, we're upgrading. And we had a big float in the Halloween parade in 2000. And that was awesome because that was like a huge, huge parade. It was being covered by like multiple TV channels. And then in 2001, we also had a float, which is a fucked up year. Sorry for the French, but it was a screwy year because you could still smell 9/11 burning when we were there. And every other float had dropped out, and half my staff had dropped out. And, I mean, not to make light of the situation, but we were like, if we don't have a float, the terrorists win. Second year, and then you're like you're cranking music, and you're going up, Sixth Avenue, and you can kind of see the wave that's happening because you can't hear the music if you're on the sideline, and then you do hear the music, and then I mean, I just remembered, this back in the day where the song was like "Who Let the Dogs Out." And you would just like see everybody rocking out. And then we played it probably 10 times and everybody just started woof woofing with us. And then, this float's bouncing and it's just, it is. And to this day, we have done the float every single year that there was a parade minus COVID. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. And that's just Halloween parade. And then along the way, it was like, oh, wait. There's Mermaid Parade in Coney Island. And now we do a float there every year. Somewhere along the way, maybe or maybe not got involved with SantaCon or maybe don't run it. We won't say. Santa runs SantaCon.
Right.
It's got really big in New York and it went from sort of a bar crawl to taking over New York to the point where a lot of people stopped liking it. Sorry, guys. New York can handle, 30,000 drunken Santas. And it does. And started going to Burning Man, and then a costume cult was founded in really 2001, 2002, and now we do 4, 5, 6 annual events, our own gala costume parties, Hornball, Black and Light Ball, and Freak Show. Hornball is our spring fantasy party. Black and Light Ball is more of our fashion black light party, and then Freak Show is our circus theme party. So geek, chic, and freak are the three
love it
fundraisers. And we also were part of the founding of House of Yes, which is a big club in New York where the girls who started House of Yes also started in Costume Cult. And now we do the City of Gods Festival every weekend before Halloween, where we are the centerpiece tent runway show. And we also do our freak show party at the formal House of Yes out in Bushwick. So weaving together big art, fun, empowerment with basically multiple cultural institutions in New York.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, you talk a lot about participatory culture. Can you talk about that and how that, of course, weaves into everything that you do?
So we also talk about costume culture, which everybody is like, oh, you're not wearing a costume. And so it's really participatory culture because there's like, third of Costume Cult doesn't really wear costumes. They're like the black t-shirt people that are setting up where they are making other forms of art. So participation doesn't actually require a costume. You still do have more fun and you do meet more people when you're wearing something interesting. As you know, from Burning Man and all of those types of events, you could, be the art car maker. You could be the lighting guy. You could be the DJ. So, passive culture is, and the word culture actually does kind of mean participatory culture but you go to stage events and everybody's standing around looking at the stage. That's not really that participatory. You get into participatory culture, which in my opinion is better done with EDM or bands that sort of people look at each other. So you're dancing, you're getting to know each other. And it's not just, stage something happening up there, but there's photo ops and there's a game and there's, freak show booths, whatever, all sorts of insane things. And in New York, there's, the Iditarod shopping cart race where like making fun of the Alaskan Iditarod dog sled race, but with shopping carts and drunken humans instead of dog sleds and the frozen Alaskan tundra. So that just goes and goes, various different iterations of it. The founding thing, sort of one of the co-founding groups of Burning Man and also SantaCon and the Iditarod all in San Francisco, called Cacophony Society. Look up at their website. It's very interesting. And this ethos of absurdity and mixing art and cultural messaging took me by storm as somebody who's not just an artist, but I'm an activist, I'm a writer, come from sort of a New York educated family with a lot of cultural insight. So how do you do fun, cool shit and make a really interesting point on multiple levels and have fun?
And have fun, obviously. Yes. Yeah. And speaking of really making a difference and having fun, I would love for you to tell the story on the St. Patrick's Day parade and how you turned that into a protest. And then I'd also love you to talk about your zombie fest and Fox News, because I think that that is an awesome, awesome example of let's have some fun, let's cause some trouble, and let's get a point across.
Right, well, the St. Patrick's Day parade was, for a long time, was very controversial because they're kind of, conservative people in sort of the negative connotation of the word. Judgmental is another word. And they wouldn't let gay groups march in the parade under their own banner. And they even made the mistake of saying to us, no costumes allowed in the parade. And I mean, like, that was some war right there.
Yeah, those are some fighting words right there.
It's like, what? Well, guess what? We will be leprechauns against boring parades. And because of the issues with all the gay groups, they had actually set up protest corrals that were right there across from, St. Pat's Cathedral, basically the best seats in the house. And they were empty because the gay groups refused to go in the corrals that the others had put for them. And they were like somewhere else protesting. And we're like showed up with these signs and whiskey in our coffee cups. It is St. Patrick's Day. And we had this whole like section to jump around with our signs as leprechauns against boring parades, because it was a boring parade. Still kind of is. I mean, it's nice. Everybody's marching. You've got like the fire department in their outfits. You got the police in their outfits. You do have some colorful dress, but not costume. Mm-hmm. And so there we were with this huge leprechaun head and like a bunch of us with like wacky signs. And we really definitely hit them with, where it hurt, because the people in the parade loved us, and they're from all over the country coming to this thing, and they see us at the side of the parade, and they would break ranks, come over and like take pictures with the crazy New Yorkers with the signs, and the Ancient Order of Hibernians, this conservative group, was like fuming, like, oh, you got to stay in line. It's kind of like, keep it moving, people. And like they were breaking ranks, coming, getting the best pictures that they could get to bring back home to wherever they came from. And even the cops that were supposed to enforce this were just laughing and letting us do it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's that video that was made by Gothamist at the time on YouTube somewhere. And then it was called Leprechaun, where we started at the parade, and then it was like SantaCon and green, and then we went bar hopping in costume. And of course, especially as the day went on, more and more people were getting more and more enthusiastic. That super, super fun. Haven't done that one in a while. We're always looking for producers who will be like, I'll take that on. I'll go find the bars. I'll get happy hour pricing wherever you go. And if somebody does that, I'll send out the email. We'll get 20 to 100 people to join you.
All right, everyone, you hear the call.
Participatory culture is not just about showing up. It's often about finding that leader, somebody that is like, oh, I'm taking that on. So that was that. And then actually a slightly bigger event that went a bit longer than our Leprechaun was ZombieCon. And yeah, we took the SantaCon idea and ran with it. And zombies, if you look at the films going back to forever, there's always a social commentary about zombies, and not the original Night of the Living Dead, but there was the the sequel, which was in a shopping mall where all of the zombies would go to the mall because, like, consumerism, and in the afterlife they still had to go to the mall. So we were like, oh man, we're gonna do something with that. So just like what SantaCon was, you meet at a bar, you zombify up. Yep, you zombify up. We had all sorts of zombie makeup artists who would show up, but in all of these events, 3 to 10 photographers follow us around, and then and then you march. And that very first year, we were sort of in Midtown, and we went down Fifth Avenue shopping for brands, and super funny putting bloody handprints on those windows. Sorry to the staff, but the staff loved it. You're sitting there trying to sell overpriced handbags to tourists, and the zombie protest comes by, and okay, you left the little bloody handprints on the window, but it's New York. So that was an early part of it. And then the year that we also went through Bloomingdale's, and people are like, "Oh, we can't go in there." I'm like, "Yeah, we're going in." And you lead 100 bloody zombies through the perfume aisle at Bloomingdale's, and the staff is just besides themselves happy. They're like spritzing us with perfumes, and the security is like, "Oh my God, there's zombies! There's zombies!" And then and then you're like, "Who's in charge?"
Oh my God!
And then boom, before the cops show up, we're out, and we're off. And,
You've made your statement, and you're out.
Yeah. And, New York, once upon a time they tried to control you, but you're not hurting anybody and you're staying on the sidewalks. Technically, you're not committing a crime. You are allowed to wear costumes as ridiculous as you want, as long as you're not too nude. And there's also some issues with how nude you can be, toplessness.
And come to San Francisco, you can walk to work completely nude.
Yeah, cops are just like, yep, nope. They don't pay me enough for that. You guys have your fun. Just try not to get near the school district. So yeah, those are two of our examples of doing things in public, because when you're in New York, it is, spectacle, theater, breaking the fourth wall. All of these things are central to what we do.
I want to pause for a quick moment. If what we're talking about today resonates with you, you'll want to check out the Movement Maker Incubator, my 6-month intensive where I guide sacred rebels and change makers to birth their own movements using ancient wisdom and modern strategy. You can join the waitlist and learn more about this sacred rite of passage for change makers at globalmovementmaker.com/incubator. I'd love to get into, how do you mobilize these people? How do you organize these grand events? Is it just one leprechaun showing up and then being like, okay, well, that's a rad idea. Then, more people start coming in, or how do you mobilize this?
We promise free booze.
That's the secret. He's shaking his head no.
Yeah. When you have a sort of critical mass of funsters, and it's a Saturday afternoon, and it's nice out, the St. Patrick's Day became a little problematic because it was always on the day, and it was like 9 a.m. Maybe that's because they feared us. It's hard to get a whole bunch of leprechauns there at 9 a.m, but it was always on the day, and a lot of people would take off a half day from work to do it. So that was a little problematic. But Saturday afternoon, ZombieCon is pretty amazing. We always would do it during Halloween season, which is, generally speaking, October. So, and then, it's community mobilizations. As we develop the community, we have some advantages. But one of the things that we're definitely encouraging, especially with this new project, Costume Network, is finding people everywhere. And, is there a costume shop in a town? Like, they want there to be more events. So how do you get centralized leadership or other, some people call them influencers. I call them just folks who know folks, to get people to come. Get 5 here, 3 photos are really good because, the first event, the pictures look great. Maybe it was like only 20 people, but in the photos, you can make it look like 1,000. Camera angles, so fake it till you make it. And, Costume Cults, started as a bunch of weirdos banging coconuts pretending to be Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And it grew from there.
I love how you are really drawing out how it can start off very grassroots and then it does become a movement. And I love, you're bringing up Costume Network. And I think that that's a great segue into that, because I think what you're doing is amazing. So many people can sell costumes online and it's just a business, right? But what you're doing is you're bringing all of these different facets of culture under one umbrella all of the vendors who are the DJs and the party supply people and all of these people that are in costume culture and offering events. Like you're really the umbrella of costumes and fun. And so can you walk us through for the listeners, like how did this idea flourish and how are you putting these pieces together so that they might be able to modularize what you are creating here in their respective industries?
So there's several layers of thought here. So I'm the son of a sociology professor. So I've been thinking about sociological change. I've been an environmental and social activist for a long time. So how do you create movements and all of that? My mom was an art historian. So, the most obvious persona of it is Burning Man. But in New York, there's been participatory arts culture longer than Burning Man. Halloween Parade is 50 years old. Mermaid Parade's pretty old. And you go back to the Studio 54 era that, costume culture has been alive and thriving in subcultures. So it's out there. And then if you look globally, we say welcome home when you go to Burning Man, but they say welcome home or something akin to it when you go to Mardi Gras every year. And a lot of people in Louisiana, they don't go to Burning Man. Their Burning Man is Mardi Gras. We went to Venice Carnival. That's a 500-year-old Burning Man, right? So these things are all over the place. And even though they may be wildly different people, I mean, you've got clowns, you've got, Ren Fair people, you've got Comic-Con, sci-fi, Star Trek people, you got the BDSM goth crowd, you got pets. I mean, it's all over the place. But the vendors, the how, covering the human or, animal bodies, is centralizable to a certain extent, at least from a hub that points to artists. And, if you're an event producer that's doing a thing here and there's other people that are, doing their thing, like the Ren Fair and, steampunk is also pretty amazing. And they're actually kind of close in the philosophy. But you're the Ren Fair people. You don't know about the steampunk people. And certainly the event producers want more people coming. So you want to cross pollinate. And then there is, so you want to spread the fun, you want to interconnect the fun, and then you want to elevate, you want to help artists make a living. So we're in a crazy time with AI knocking over all the anthills all of a sudden, and people worried about everything, and then, this backdrop of hostility everywhere. And we are focused on the good things, on creativity, collaborations, bringing really diverse people together. Costume culture transcends languages, transcends age. I mean, kids and families, a lot of kids, don't hang out with their parents, but we see kids hang out with their parents all the time. They go to Burning Man, they're at SantaCon. They're at SantaCon before the drinks really get going. So it brings all sorts of people together. Live action role playing, the LARP, the people who play Dungeons and Dragons in the woods. I mean, it is concrete, you're learning to partner. You're creating art together. And then the photos afterwards, then you share it and then you tag it. And then that was the person I really had that great conversation with. Now you get to know that person because you can track them down and talk to them and then, have a relationship. So all of costume culture has this consistent vibe on some levels. Yes, the goth people are a little more like scary seeming, but if you talk to them, they're geeks just like the sci-fi people. They just are a little more severe about it. So you break it down, you get people smiling, and then Costume Network was just always been this big idea that, Halloween is what, the Halloween industry is the only thing that where there's a trade association that sells costumes or monitors that. So that's product people mostly trying to sell to the big box retailers and the chains and the pop-up stores. But going to all these other things, there are artists and thrift stores. And I mean, there's all these people that are not aligned. And there's no trade or sort of network helping the little guy artist who, is making some cool shit in their, mom's basement. But how do they reach a bigger market? A lot of these folks aren't that great at social media. Social media is all over the place. I can't find, somebody tells me about something. I'm like, is it on Partiful? Is it WhatsApp? Was that Facebook? The people I use Facebook anymore. I use it instant. Like it just where the hell? So it's all over the place right now. And the opportunity to put sort of a central curated clearinghouse with verifiable humans. We're going to draw the line against all the deep fakes and everything that's coming our way with AI, some centralized place where real people can connect. And yes, we are going to use plenty of AI tools because AI makes complicated things simple. And like what to wear and like, holy crap, a steampunk mermaid party? Like, what does that even mean? So you type in, I want to go to pirate party into Chat GPT and you ask, what do I wear? You will get that list in seconds. You need a.
Thank you so much, Jim. I think that this is probably the most important thing that we've discussed. Now I know I have ChatGPT to tell me what to wear.
I mean, you get a hat, a parrot, a hook, all these things. And then it's like, oh shit, where do I wear it? Who do I buy it from? Or how do I make it? We are very much about maker culture. So yeah, you go ahead and get it on Amazon because, you thought about it and the party's in 2 days. But if the event producers are also using the same platform to say, guess what? We see that you're a steampunk person in 1 month. You've got this thing coming up. Now you have and it's not just about buying the ready-made stuff. It's also like, how do I make it? And so we're going to be linking to, we are linking in some facet to the YouTubers that explain things. We are looking for the better crafty people that are good at explaining things because this network is about the best in their craft. Best costume people, best hairdressers, and ultimately we'll link to everybody. But right now we're building it with a velvet rope so that it is A, legit people, and that will always be there, the velvet rope, but B, some form of quality. Because especially in burner culture, we talk about safe spaces all the time, not just from a consent standpoint, but, being cheated. And, if somebody says they're sending you a costume and they don't do it, and now you got nothing to wear and you're heartbroken, like you need legit people with good ratings that are on it, that aren't gonna, smoke crack that weekend and forget about your order. Yeah, so that was the genesis of this. How do you get more costuming more of the time? Yes, more fun more of the time. And then build community because these events help people bond. Anybody can have a party and line up the shots on the bar. And then it's so forgettable after the hangover goes away. These parties are memorable. And the bridges that are built, the getting together to craft, the sharing of the photos, this is much more vibrant in terms of creating community.
Every episode of the Call to Rise podcast is about the changemakers and movements reshaping our world. But the podcast is just the beginning. On my Substack, I open the door wider, sharing my personal journey with movement makers, the wins, the struggles, and the behind-the-scenes rituals that help leaders birth what's next. If you're ready to go deeper into the frameworks and practices you hear me hint at here, join me at globalmovementmaker.substack.com. What I'm hearing a lot of, which is very typical within movement building, is user-generated content. And so you've alluded to this several times where it's like, okay, you provide the experience, but then the people are taking the photos and sharing their experiences or being on your platform and telling their stories of how they are bringing their gifts and their crafts. And so can you talk a little bit more about this user-generated experience where you provide the world, but then they're there to be, again, that participatory culture of really taking it and making it their own?
So costume culture or costume people are the world's greatest narcissists. They are the best at saying, look at me. And we actually have a section on the costumenetwork.com website for divas. And, this is mostly a business network. We want to help artists and event producers and DIY YouTubers and all of that elevate whatever they're promoting. But we couldn't resist. We also said divas, put them up there. Are they promoting a product or a service? Maybe that'll be connected to their profile, but they're mostly promoting themselves because they're just artists that are awesome. And we super, super respect and bow down to the divas, the divas, the rock stars, the superheroes, the art stars, whatever you call them. the people that are best at their craft or the people that are aspiring and getting better, because they demonstrate the height of this pastime. And yes, user generated content, UGC. There is no better content than people with the biggest, broadest smiles engaged in the world's greatest events. And they want you to see their content. So it's like such a circular generation of awesome that, yeah, I mean, that's part of our secret sauce is that the people want to be part of this and they want to show off. And we're going to help them.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting what you're building here. I'd love to talk a little bit around volunteer mobilization. Can you talk about how some of the hardships, some of the lessons, and some of the tips and tricks that you can share with my audience as they build their movements?
Well, volunteer mobilizations are tricky. Volunteer organizations and, Costume Cult itself, once again, spelled with K's because we're not really a cult. If we were really a cult, we'd get a lot more volunteers, I think, or we'd get people that had nowhere else to go. But people have lives, especially in New York. So it's a trick. You need to recruit. I have a saying, ABR, always be recruiting. And I don't think anybody's bounced more between Insta, Facebook, and LinkedIn more than I have. Because finding people that actually GSD, get stuff done, is an art form. So who gets stuff done? Who says what they are going to do? And even if it's a sunny Sunday and you want to go ride your bicycle, deadline is tomorrow, you're going to do it, right? So those people are gold to any arts collective. And if other people don't show up, the leader, the buck stops with me. I have been the backstop for many a failed volunteerism because the show must go on. So how do you get folks? So, when people get involved in terms of volunteerism and they found their people, it's helpful because they don't want to let their people down. And, especially after a crazy Burning Man this year, there was rain, there was dust, there was whiteouts.
I heard it was a brutal one.
There was whiteouts, there was brownouts. I even heard there was a blackout in the middle of the day. And I didn't go this year because I'm working on Costume Network. And I'm like, whoa. And I went from FOMO to JOMO, the joy of fast. I was listening to the Burning Man radio station while I was sitting here cranking away on this startup. And it was like, oh my God, I hope they're okay. Our camp is really good. Everything is locked down hard. So nothing really blew away, but you just saw the hellscape that was coming through via Instagram of all these things.
It looked really rough.
And honestly, you really know who the best volunteers are. And I always think about who are, the big wind is coming. Who are the people that run into the RVs and who are the people who run out of the RVs to hold things down? So all of you people that are considering starting your own collective, those people who run out of the RV are gold. And if you're the leader, you have to be the first one out of the RV. Because if you run into the RV, you know what? Nobody's going to be inspired by that.
Yeah, amen to that. Don't ask anyone to do anything if you weren't to do it yourself, right? Especially if you're that leader. I'm wondering how you originally find the GSD people. What's your funnel or filter to bring those types of people into your orbit?
So my background is executive search. So I've been a recruiter of my professional career, and it's also very highly functional executives. A lot of people in top MBAs, McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, CEO level people. So I have a sense for people who have a high level of either skill or commitment. So I just have a gut feel for this, and not everybody will have the same natural skill. In fact, there will be people that I say, man, do you know anybody like this, that, or the other thing? And they're like, oh, I can't think of anybody. And then I'll meet somebody and they'll be the friend with that person. And I'm like, dude, I was asking you a month ago for your buddy who lives across the hall from you. You didn't think.
Yeah, you're like, obvious choice.
So it is always be recruiting. It is having the radar up there. It's using whatever socials people use these days. And even though Facebook really screwed up the planet in so many ways, that tool is still the best tool. And I just really wish somebody would duplicate it because the tagging is a killer app, the photo tagging and sharing, because now it goes viral. Somebody posts a after one of our parties 200 pictures, and then everybody goes in their tags. You get to know everybody, you get to follow them, you get to go to, and then the events promotion also would viral. And Insta doesn't do that. WhatsApp doesn't do that. Partiful kind of does it, but not at the human level, just at the events level. So we are in a world now where there is a void in terms of the position that Facebook filled. And, some people still use it. We'll post on all of them. And, a big part of the Costume Network project is at least a centralizable source for the best artists and the best events. So we're not going to be everything to everybody either. But if you love costume culture, we want you to know you can come here. And it's not just us curating it. We need you there in Costume Land to tell us, what's happening. What's that crazy thing going on in St. Louis? Like, is it somebody doing a SantaCon in Boise? Like, we want to list them all. And so that's all things to consider when you're trying to organize people.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I mean, is that what you're trying to build, is kind of a Facebook for costume culture?
Let's investors say something like that, they're like closing their checkbook and getting out of the room.
Okay.
A social marketplace built in the AI generation where you can do things a lot smarter. I mean, my head is spinning. I got some crazily smart people that are like so embedded in AI, futurists. They know where this is going. So there's a way to build lean and mean. And for example, you want to post a picture of a costume you want to sell. We just had a long meeting about, you have to tag it and you have to say it's a red hat and it's size thing and it's men. And no, you throw the picture up there. AI will say, these are the things we think it is. And then all you have to do is take 3 seconds to edit it. And it'll also know who you are. So if it fits you, it's size this and all that. So there is just so many shortcuts AI will give you to get there. So Facebook is on it. Google's on it. They're all on integrating AI, but they're trying to strap these things onto old infrastructure, and we get to invent new infrastructure. And honestly, this team that we're putting together is great, and we're always looking for more people. ABR, and
ABR,
and then money people are all like, oh, you need full timers on all this. No, you don't. I mean, yes, top-down companies, you need full-timers. Burning Man camps, it's fractional all over the place. And here we are somewhere in the middle, gig economy, fractionality, people with multiple things. And then AI should create more leisure time. We really need to figure out universal basic income. And even all the tech bros believe in UBI because, when all the jobs start going away, the people are still going to need money to buy, the billionaires' stuff. So there does have to be some redistribution of wealth. I mean, it's not redistribution if the wealth is being created now with more and more, with less and less people. You just have to redistribute it. And with more leisure time, many of these events and pastimes will flourish.
I completely agree. Would you give any advice to people on what they should think about when they're putting together these teams?
Well, people grow. If somebody shows up and they're a little shy in the back of the room, that might be your next camp leader. In fact, I remember meeting a woman in our organization. I couldn't even hear what she was saying. Like, she was so quiet and she was so shy. She ended up being a major leader in the Burning Man movement. She stopped being shy somewhere along the way, and man, she had developed some sharp elbows. So I learned. But it's cultivating people, it's respecting people, it's trying to understand who they are and what they want from life. And maybe they don't even know what they want from life because they're young. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wish I had self-actualized before I was, 35, 40. I didn't even know as an artist until I was 40. Mm-hmm. And then maybe a little younger than that. So you just don't know, and you're flopping around in a world where people are like, you got to be a lawyer or a doctor, or, get a job, you got to do those things. But what's important to you? And as a community leader, you look out. And I've always been in sort of a strategic thinking 4 steps ahead. And so I'm good at a bunch of things. I'm also not good at a bunch of things. So that whole EQ, empathy quotient thing, if you have it, great. If you don't, get somebody next to you that does, because really understanding who your team is or who the people that came to their first meeting are is how you engage it, how you grow it. And then over time, maybe they're right for your organization. Maybe there's another one they should get involved in. Don't be jealous. Don't hold people back. If they're not right for your crew, they might be right for somebody else's. But, keep it cool, keep it light, and, at least they'll come to your parties. And then you're not just building an organization, you're building a culture, which is what we've been doing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so glad that I asked that question because that felt really rich, your answer. As we're winding down, I think one of the last questions I want to ask for you is what's the words of advice that you would give new activists around how can they bring more fun and laughter and enjoyment in what they're doing?
I mean, what makes you smile? And, people will say different things. It's fun to them. So I think what we're doing is the funnest stuff ever. Burning Man culture isn't just about going out to the Nevada desert. There are regional burns everywhere, and especially in New York, which has had many different arts generations. So, you go back to the Bob Dylan era, there was, hippies doing stuff, and then you go to the Studio 54 sort of Warhol area, there's people doing stuff. But this generation is much more vibrant and bigger. I mean, you couldn't organize this many people before the internet. And you couldn't find that like crazy costume person who was like out in suburban, Long Island, trying to talk their neighbors into coming in costume to their janky little thing. But now you can find them. They're on there. So, bringing people together. Remind me of the question.
What would be your advice to new activists on how they can bring more fun and enjoyment? Because so many times it can get really heavy and really burdensome around the calls that people are having in this dark time. And so how can we make it more light?
So, yeah. And I'm heartbroken by so much that's going on right now. So avoid things that you can't change. You gotta stand up and speak truth to power. When power is not doing the right thing. And go to the marches, do all that.
Maybe wear a costume.
Yeah, I mean, I've done all of that. I don't know how much it changed anything, but you do build community around the Women's March and a lot of these other things that really did build community and did really make a difference for a few minutes. So, but you can organize a zombie con, right? You can go on and you see it all the time. You see, I just walked by one yesterday. It was one of these bridal rampages. They're sort of sweet. And everybody was in costume, nothing to do with Burning Man, but it was a crew of women that all dressed up, and it was awesome. So build community where you are. Don't look at the negative argumenty stuff. The algorithms know you're hovering over it. Ignore it. When I go to Facebook, I don't get any of that crap, because I don't look at it. So, definitely be there when it's important for the world. Do not step away from activism, especially during election cycles. But you've got to also build through joy. And even though I've been heartbroken by a lot of this, I got a call after the last election and said, Jim, you are one of the solutions here. Help people have fun, build community. And then when you build community around sort of apolitical things, later down the road, you got a community. Not everybody's going to come out for the protest march, but at least you have a platform to let people know and then show up with fun because, people are all angry. I mean, I don't know how viral that's going to remain. Really, I hope we change course. But if you're having fun and you're the funnest group at the protest, I mean, that's got to account for something. I'm really hopeful.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful too. And the last question I want to ask is 200 years from now, what will be the legacy of Costume Cult and Costume Network? What will you have left behind?
Well, I'm really hoping it's this time machine that we're working on to go back a couple of decades and fix some of this stuff. But I mean, costume culture is so primed for the next stage of humanity in a lot of ways. AI with the potential to have a lot more leisure time. I mean, party culture and gaming is going to grow. Arts culture and party culture, once again, not just partying. It's like preparing, doing the thing, sharing the content afterwards, video editing. And because there is so much content, that is, and real people content, because, you can create all sorts of deep fake stuff now, but the AI search engines look for real stuff. And yes, you can create content using ChatGPT, but as long as it's linked to you and you're a verified human, supposedly my AI people tell me that is what will rise to the top when people are looking for things. So there's online and then there's IRL in real life. And costume culture is the most vibrant thing in real life. So the more we grow this, the more costume culture isn't just about, the cities where there's crazy events and year-round costume shops. The more it becomes a thing in other places. You don't, everybody loves, well, most people, a lot of people love Halloween. That's always the first question I ask. What's your favorite holiday? But then, how do you do a SantaCon in suburban St. Louis? What's that Iditarod thing? Like we got to do one here. So the more we spread the word and just the how-to do any of these things. And Costume Network isn't just like, here's a costume. We're a B2B2C. So we're like, we want to help you throw your event. We want you to help staff your event. The how-tos are not just how to make a costume, but it's how to make an Iditarod. So the whole value chain, helping the event producers, helping the person who's got 3 days to figure this out, and then helping the crafters. Like, how do you really make it yours? So I think there's a certain sociological time we're in. I've been thinking about this, like I said, for about 20 years. And then you throw AI on top of it, which makes complicated things simple, and links at this time when people are just trying to figure out where the actual use cases are of AI. I mean, I go to these conferences and they're all talking about this thing, we'll do this and then this, and then another one comes and it squashes that thing. We're just saying we are the best possible use case for whatever you guys are making. Bring us your coolest AI that will help you plan your outfit, plan your event, and then help grow community with real people. So I really think if you look ahead 20 years, if we're still around, that will be our legacy.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I'm sending you the best of luck. Not that you need my luck. I'm just so happy to be connected with you and, wanting to be part of your network and part of your parties. They sound amazing. Where can people find you?
So costumecult.com is an old school website. It is a volunteer organization, so we really need help with that website. Who wants to help? So costumecult.com is a central place where if somebody's updating it that week or that month, you'll see our latest event. We're on all the socials. Insta, probably the most vibrant place. Do not be afraid of Facebook. We're still there. And honestly, like I said, that's still the most useful tool in a lot of ways. And then costumenetwork.com is a website. It's really somewhere between an alpha and a beta. Right now, it's just a directory. We do want people that are professionals with a high caliber of quality and accountability to apply and to get involved. So costumenetwork.com is there. We also have an AI-powered costume planning app, which is somewhere between an alpha and a beta. It's in the app stores, Costume X. We thought of that name before there was a SpaceX or any of that. We've had that URL for a long time. And that's just like a Pinterest tool that you can, do searches on the internet or wherever AI will take you and then save them. We're going to grow that app. So that's, I do believe there's links if you're technical or if you've done beta testing. We're looking for people to poke both the website and the app. We're also building a peer-to-peer marketplace. So we're looking for people that love this. It's a real project, public benefit corporation. We are making offers to actual teammates. So it's a professional thing, not a nonprofit. But yeah, we mix nonprofit, public benefit corporation philosophies together on all that we are doing. And we're also smart business people. When you're not making money, things fall apart. So sustainable business models. And once again, bringing people together with love in their heart and really hopefully an optimism for what can still be created in this world.
Beautiful. Well, I love ending on that note. Thank you so much, Jim, for taking the time and for having some fun with my movement makers here. Happy to have you in our orbit. Hopefully we'll see you at New York City, some sort of amazing party soon.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up. We're starting to list them. Look us
Woo!
up.
All right. Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Custom Land, and all the people who have yet to become part of this movement.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. Thank you for listening to The Call to Rise. If today's conversation stirred something in you, subscribe and share it with a fellow movement maker. And join our community at globalmovementmaker.com. Till next time, keep leading with courage, keep weaving ancient wisdom with modern strategy, and always remember to answer the call.